AI agent that manages cryptocurrency. It's trusted, automating payments, swaps, and shopping. Powered by Intel TDX, Blormmy is designed to manage its own trustless private keys in a confidential container to build trusted AI containers. It's become a method for their team to automate commerce-ready financial flows without seed phrases. It's agentic finance, blending AI with decentralized finance for a user-friendly Web3 experience. Today we have CEO Tint Blorm and Efrain Amezcua. Learn Blormy's vision and how they are approaching private AI and decentralized finance.
The first time we've ever had an actual full AI agent builder just like actually talk about how the heck they did it. So yeah, hi everybody, and welcome again to another Black Box episode. This is going to be really cool because we're talking here today with the co-founders of Blormy. Like, how do you want the world to categorize Blormy? Like,
Yeah, this is a question that we wrestle with a lot, but I would say agentic orchestration comes into mind. By agentic, it means that you can send an intent, the LLM or the models process that, and then they do the routing for the control flow of actions to happen. And the magical stuff is that we're using smart wallets to their most advanced capabilities. So with the innovation happening in wallets, AI, ease, like it's this perfect time to create an innovation in wallets themselves. So yeah, I guess
that actually
yeah.
kind of answers one of my questions. I always like to start off these podcasts with a really good sort of roundabout question just to understand the motivations. What are 3 words that would describe everything that you do? It could either be about what you do or just the project Blormy. 3 words that motivate everything that you guys are doing right now.
Yeah, I'll go first and then pass it to F. The 3 words for me are craftsmanship, entropy, and fulfillment. Just to kind of double click on them, I think Blormy really kind of started off as like a product of love for the game. It was kind of more just like build something for the sake of building, and then a huge Steve Jobs fan, or anyone that's a mastery of craftsmanship, like Da Vinci, anyone that kind of dedicates their life to their craft. That's like a huge inspiration. So I kind of want to be under that bucket. And then under that, like to do something great, you have to fight a lot of entropy, just, solving chaos and making something simple that works is very, very challenging. And then all of that just comes to personal fulfillment.
And how about for you? If Farhan, right?
If you wanted to say it like my mom, it'd be Efrain, but F is fine. And the 95023 is pronounced 95023. But as far as 3 words that motivate my work, I think
Yes.
I'm going to say 2 that are specifically related to Blormy, and then 1 that's more general while also being related to Blormy. Obviously, the big 2 is commerce and crypto, right? Everything we're doing with Blormy is trying to weave together commerce and crypto, but specifically as related to the 3rd word, which is progress, which is not only what motivates our work with Blormy to continue pushing forward commerce and crypto, but also just in general for all of my work that I do. It's why I got drawn to Web3, because I think if you love technology, you love logic, you love mathematics. In the Web2 world, I mean, this is risky to say, right? I'm not going to say it's huge to be like, oh, there's not a lot of innovation left, because who knows what kind of stuff people are going to come up with. But as far as social medias, I think we've figured out most of the ways to, share a status or upload a picture that's permanent, or upload a picture that's, disappears eventually, or upload a video on a vertical feed, horizontal feed. We've kind of tried all that stuff out. And as far as where we're going to continue to make progress, I think that's why people end up drawn to Web3, is how do we combine what we know with software and what we know with mathematics and continue to push forward.
Well, and I heard mathematics, which is, it's accuracy, I think. And that's the thing that rings true in my head is that we want good craftsmanship of these agents, and these agents could actually sort of change the way that we maybe forever interact with crypto. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on this. Why did you choose an agent, not necessarily choosing with the wallet starting off?
Yeah, I'll give a quick stab. So the metaphor that comes to mind, how Blormy is in a product landscape, I view like existing wallet providers like the Phantom, Soulflare, MetaMask as cell phones. It caused like the Blackberries, kind of the first gen really pushing to mainstream. So as of now, Blormy is um, an, an agent that can take a user's intent and to evolve it out to be fully autonomous and to have like basically sovereign agents operating on their own behalf. There's a lot of components to make that to happen, but I think a lot of it is going to be based off the relevant data that we see. And I think as we're seeing right now, even on the AI space, like compute is one thing, but also relevant data is a huge factor. So from all the intents that Blormy is generating for users, in the foreseeable future, I could see that all that is relevant data to help train a model specifically, and then perhaps that's where there's a specific model powering agents to be more autonomous based off the data coming from the humans, like in the first batch. So those are
Right.
some quick thoughts. I'm sure App has a lot more on the engineering side of the components.
Yeah, coming a little down to the actual implementation and execution level to speak on it, I'll say that the form factor for signing transactions does not lend itself traditionally to what you might call a smart UI or lighter weight user experiences like what we do now, where you can send a tweet to Blormy and do something on chain. That is not possible with if we had just built a wallet. If you go through the standard custodial key pairs, our interface for wallets is typically a browser extension, right? Which we're used to. It becomes pretty normal, but that's actually not a very seamless UI, and it's hard to port that. It's not portable. If requests come in from different interfaces, for somebody to have a pop-up in their browser extension where they sign the transaction, it doesn't give you a lot of room to evolve. So as far as why does Blormy need true autonomy, it needs to have some form of signing authority in order for not only the UI that we currently have built out, but any future use cases or interfaces, anything you can think of, any trigger. It could be text down the line, recognizing audio, and having sign authority. And by autonomy, I'm mostly referring to signing authority. It allows you to then be able to receive action from any interface. You are not boiled down to have to deal with a browser extension. Now you could do things from mobile. Now you can do things from within an API, like the Twitter thing is working. Like you don't need an actual browser client running and nor an extension installed to make on-chain actions. It's the control, the signing authority, like Blormy actually being able to go and do something for you. Like you don't have to do it side by side. You can give Blormy a task and you can walk away. You don't have to sit there. Like once Blormy figures it out and builds the transaction, you don't have to sit there and sign it.
Right, exactly. It's already smart enough to do something and already got your KYC. That makes so much sense. That's a better user experience. And in the UI, imagine you using a TEE so you can make that confidential. Aha, that just not KYC. Well, I don't know. Maybe I don't know how you get around the stuffs, but there's all sorts of rules and regulations. I've been having so many conversations about like what's the regulatory behavior of a trustless AI. It's like, well,
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's try to figure that out, right? But okay, let's move on to, the whole thing that I read on, your guys's the front end page. Now that I understand, like, okay, this is what this is supposed to do. You're supposed to create sort of agent owned actions that have sort of this permissionless ability in the TEE. You get a lot of freedom once you have more control over the confidential ciphertext of an AI and like what you're running exactly being the API or some sort of like coprocessor. I don't know, right? It's you're able to do at least those under the same private key, it sounds. So walk us through the whole key gen, right? Storage, recovery, orchestration. So when we create the key or maybe something else creates a key, or is it just my key, right? My storage, what's my storage? I can imagine IPFS, of course, but then there's like recovery, meaning like, oh, I had the key and then I lost the key. What are some of the the ways that you guys are thinking about the key management within the TEE?
Yeah, definitely. So what we've done is use the TapD key derivation service to generate a key per user's agent and got it approved as a delegated key by the original admin wallet. And then from that point on, that key is then stored in an encrypted Docker volume per each agent. And that's the way that we've done it up to now. But we have a huge evolution coming that is moving us forward in a lot of ways, reducing deployment time and onboarding speed and all that, which is by further integrating the DStack key derivation path and purpose attributes to make it so that we never actually have to store the keys at all, because there's deterministic cryptographic methods such that whenever we pass through the same key identifier with with a consistent application identifier at the virtual machine level, we can actually always produce the same key. So if I have a user identifier for you, for Dylan, or for Tint, every time I pass in Tint's identifier, it will produce the same key. So I actually never have to save it. And that's all provided by Follow.
Look at this. I don't know if you can see my screen still, but I see this like sort of as you're talking, I'm literally hearing and seeing the architecture side by side now. I'm like, okay, what he means by the key, right? You're using the TapD API of DStack. That gives you the KMS key, which is using the smart contract on Ethereum. So then you use that service as the agent. The container is basically the agent, right? And then the client has autonomy over the user, the client being the actual user, and then the user being the agent. Do I have that correct?
Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
There's a couple more details there, but for the most part, you have the big piece right spots.
We're on Solana. So one thing about from the builder landscape, the EVM world and their smart wallets and their key management systems, I would say they're a little bit more established compared to the Solana ecosystem. So yeah, we've been doing a lot of innovation and kind of pushing Solana smart wallets to their current level and then tying it to the T and the key management system. So it's like this pretty innovative thing, and huge shout out to F because, you know, he's kind of building some magic over here. And then shout out to you guys too, because you guys are the ones that literally provide the tooling to make it possible. So
right, it's sick.
Fun stuff.
I guess what are the ways in terms of the scaling effects? Does each of the agents in the Fala TDX, you know, how do you eliminate them?
Yeah, luckily, as far as scaling for whether agents are like being utilized or not, we have a pretty good system in place. So with the new system that I was telling you, we actually can scale our workers as needed as requests are coming, because the identity part, like the actual part that's making each Blormy distinct from one another, is just the private key itself, right? The logic that's calling the right tool or making whichever action, trying to figure out if it's a swap or if it's an Amazon order. All of that is the same across all agents. So in migrating to our new system, it's actually just the careful management of inserting the according user's key. And thanks to TapD, as we were just talking about, we can deterministically fetch that at runtime. So when a request comes in, we identify who's asking for it. And as we go through and find what they're trying to do and get prepared to actually execute it, we call our TapD key service, and we can fetch that user's key, load it in, execute the action. And as far as what our concerns are, the concerns is to make sure that we're bringing in that user's key when we need it and make sure we're getting rid of it as soon as that request is over. So that if there was ever any bad actors that were trying to come in and take action and use our systems, in any given idle moment, there's actually no liquidity attached to the system. So that's one of our largest protections, is that if you send in a request, there's no key pair loaded unless the request comes from an authenticated user.
Yeah,
so
that's
I guess
I love the fact that you're talking about the API in this way, because I know DStack, this is like something that's unique to the actual KMS or the key management service specifically that you're alluding to. It's the quote and the signed quote of the KMS are unique one-time keys. Essentially, they're like one-time passkeys, and it's not the private key of the user. You're talking about the TapD private signature. The enclave provides a remote attestation that the private key was there, right? It exists, or that it's used, it's there from before, it's been there after, right? So in terms of, I already made the private key once, storing the private key and making the agent owned wallet the wallet storage? Is there such thing as wallet storage, I guess, in this case? That's my question of how do you made the private key, now you want to use it again later.
It's stored as far as determinism counts as storage, right? If I can always figure out 13 times 9, did I save the answer to 13 times 9? It's more of a philosophy question. But do we have an actual like database where this person's key is stored? No. And also, I want to clear up, I realized I was saying private key just out of habit because that's the way I think about it. But yes, of course, it's not the actual user's private key. It's the agent gets a key pair. So there's the actual user's admin wallet that's signed for the deployment, which creates a smart wallet. And the smart wallet doesn't live in the TEE either. The agent then gets a standard custodial key pair, the old ones that we think of, and we present the public key of that agent key to the smart wallet and say, hey, look, this is going to be your agent's key, and this key needs to have authority to act on behalf of the smart wallet's funds. And then that's where the user signs in the front end and they say, okay, this is cool. That's okay with me. And once they approve it, that happens on chain, and that newly generated agent wallet now has signing authority over whatever funds are sitting on the smart wallet.
Is that specifically ERC 34337? Does that have anything to do with your guys' account modeling? When you say
it's adjacent.
That was probably this was part of the ERC that pioneered account abstraction. But since we're on Solana, they have their own model. And
okay,
yeah, so the EIPs, the ERC standards, they're probably just cousins, derivations of each other. And then two, this kind of a good time to mention that like the user, we want to create Blormmy from a wallet position that the user will have control, right? The agent, delegated signers, they are protected in the TEs and the Follow ecosystem. But this is where the user can set a configuration, which it's not currently live yet. Just once I was mentioning the limitation of Solana smart wallets. When the user signs up, they have the admin signer, which I guess from a mental model would be like the parent wallet that generates the smart wallet. The smart wallet says, okay, these are the authorized signers, which in this case is the agent derived keys. Then from the parent wallet, the user will be able to say, okay, set a spend limit of $1,000, a time session of 1 week. And then once that's met, the session time or the parameters, the user can re-sign from their admin wallet. So it's like this control mechanism that empowers the users while leveraging the delegation and execution of the agents.
Wow. So it's just a much faster agent orchestration of the utility of keys. So you're doing something pretty sophisticated, I'm assuming, in the back end of Solana that allows you to sort of minimize the threat vector because the owned accounts are just public, but the actual keys that are used for those accounts are completely private within the TEE. So you're effectively eliminating the attack vector by making sure that all of the agentic actions are effectively keys, like key generated key pairs. So the agent stays the same on Solana, but its signatures are completely new and one time every single time. Do I have that right?
I would say the model that I have is there's this smart wallet that is the executor of actions and where the funds live. And we use CrossMint as our provider. Like in the EVM world, there's Privy, these embedded wallet infrastructure pieces. So these guys are the ones that build exactly like this and mitigate the attack vectors and the true primitives of the wallet infrastructure. So when we spin up the smart wallet, we allow users to sign up via an email. The email is the signer that spins up the smart wallet. So therefore, the smart wallet is tied to the email signer and then also the delegated signer from the agentic side. So, and since the agentic derived keys are the ones taking action, they're binded to the smart wallet, and that's where the funds are at and the executions go through.
That's awesome because now you have this sort of like instant chain agnostic wallet. That's amazing that this actually is compatible with even all of the Solana functionalities, which is actually kind of complex. So thank you for walking me through that. I was going to ask you a question about how do you go from like sort of intent to like policy checking, but you kind of explained how the package of CrossMint, the utility of Solana, the way in which you designed private keys now using TapD, using DStack, gives you the ability to create an almost like an agent army in a way. It's kind of awesome to see that the infrastructure you guys are working on is actually working. So I guess like some of the first use cases, like the user is shopping around for Blormy, like what do you guys see as sort of the first thing that you guys are start tackling right now, right? Is it stablecoin checkout, or is it like more of like a, use wallets and it's easier to buy and sell crypto in this sense? I mean, there's a lot of problems in just buying crypto, right? On
Yeah.
so many platforms. So I think like what some of that could be just immediately covered over, right? Just more clear crypto text from the AI. It could be something as simple as this. But what are you guys doing? What do you think is still missing from the sort of mainstream use in wallet now that you're combining AI with it?
Yeah, this is where it's really fun from a product standpoint, because with these capabilities, we can do literally new actions that existing wallets can't do. So, for example, buying something on Amazon via a tweet, that is impossible even with the existing wallet stacks. Having the authority to execute the authorization for USDC to be spent to purchase the item. Then also we have actions like minting tweets as NFTs. This is just one distribution platform, which is X or Twitter. It works. It could work on Threads or Telegram, any platform that there's read and post parameter for API requests. And where it's also very exciting is in the user demographic. I am completely bullish, and this is the hedge of Blormy too, that the future users of crypto, the masses, are going to want a more simpler and abstract way to use crypto. So with Blormy, they'll be able to sign up just with an email, no need for a seed phrase. Then they can do non-KYC on-ramp right now, which we're using Coinbase's on-ramp stack for that. Then this is where the text and AI interface helps users, more specifically novice users, where, for example, if my parents are going to get into crypto and they want to do some swaps or trades or buy stuff, they'd have an easier experience just texting the agent, say like, hey, buy $10 of Bitcoin, instead of having to know how to navigate through it.
Oh, that's
Even
sick.
yeah,
Yeah,
if
I
they
know
want to
what you're
trade more
saying.
specific stickers, like just texting it is easier
Exactly.
than knowing how to navigate
Hey, I
the web.
want the cheapest possible swap for my Ethereum to my Bitcoin right now. Please do it in less than 5 seconds. I don't care if you have to charge me 30 cents. I just need it to be done right now. Like, okay.
For kind of pioneering the space is dealing with issues of non-determinism, where it's taking the intent, the semantic intent, and then deriving an on-chain action off that. It's like a process that F and our devs have really been thinking about. This is like a different type of tool or, brain to execute an action. So it's a very sensitive process, and there's lots of polishing to happen, but like we are at the cutting edge to be using AI at this point of utility.
Yeah, it reminds me of this, by the way. I don't know if you guys have seen this from Ethereum's foundation, but this just recently came out, and we were just looking into this. But have you heard of the EIP proposal for trustless agents on Ethereum yet?
Yeah, I did very lightly overread it, and I like these EIPs. It reminds me of like the 2020, 2021, like when all of crypto Twitter was just like nerds posting theses and EIPs and forum boards. So it's good to see this on the AI side where it's like people nerding out again.
Nerding out again on server agents, client agents, validator agents. Yeah, I'm still sort of figuring it out, but it's the cool topic, I guess, of like how to do agents that use registries, right, on chain. So it's a little bit easier to manage, I guess, the feeds, or like how you do agent to agent selection. But that's a totally different topic. I wanted to like sort of talk about the commerce rails that you were just talking about. You were mentioning Coinbase API, and you were doing like I think you were just about to break down like just how many DeFi actions are going to be possible with AI, right? Like, because now you're putting all of the functionality into a single wallet. And now the agent gets to make decisions. It has like X amount of APIs through Coinbase and Solana and like obviously Crossmint. So with all of that, you're going to give it like superpowers at this point. So,
Exactly.
and then the confidentiality that comes into it, what lets a user shop around via the agent? Are they going to be like, checking out these things? Like, are they going to build a wallet? Is that sort of the idea? Or are they going to just get all of it all at once? Like, I can imagine it's a little overwhelming and it's like, oh, here's the super mega wallet. Or am I going to be able to build my own wallet through Blormy and just kind of make it my own. I don't need everything. I just want like some of these things. I just
Mhm.
need a wallet to bridge, right? I just need a wallet to send my mom money or something. Is that it?
Yes.
Or
Yeah, it's gonna be underneath the stack, yeah, a lot of connections and integrations, but the user will just have a very simple interface where, for example, commerce, the way it works is as simple as you just send USDC to your smart wallet, your Blormy wallet, and then you find an item that you like on Amazon. We're actually working on a Chrome extension to get approved, but from there, you just paste the URL of the item you want from Amazon and it just deducts it from the USDC balance. So that's as as simple as how a commerce transaction happens. And then as for any crypto action, like a opening up a perp, bridging
Hmm.
transfers, like yeah, when we integrate it, the user just says, I want to send funds, I want to open up a perp. Like they don't have to know really what integration or dapper process it's going to. They just get the outcomes. So it's going to be
Hmm.
um, an abstracted experience for on-chain actions.
I see. So let me try to understand this from another end. Is like the plugins, right? All of the plugins and the safety. I looked at this up. Actually, I just found this recently. You guys called it the Goat Blormy kit on your GitHub, right? Or am I spelling it wrong? The
Yeah, I
Blormy.
know what you were referring to. That was agent framework that so this is where it's really cool about the AI or the agent side more specifically. Every integration would be a tool under the Blormy agent. And that Blormy agent lives in Paula. So when the intent comes, it parses the semantic understanding. It says, okay, if I am gonna do a bridge, is there a bridge tool? And it might be the bridge or it might be layer zero. Then from the intent, it understands which tool needs to be called, derives the plan, and then executes it off that. So that's kind of like the agent's brain of what it's capable of doing, and then doing exactly that. I'm not sure if you want to add anything further on like the agent framework or the tooling to make it happen.
Yeah, no, I know as far as the plugins, I know you had mentioned like how do we vet them and like make sure that they're safe. I'll say that any plugin, we're definitely a lot more scrutinous on any plugin that's actually interacting with on-chain activity. For the most part, most of them are not, right? On-chain activity is not too expansive. A lot of the things that we're adding on have to do with obtaining data or parsing marketplaces and stuff like that. But the actual signing transaction is luckily something that is stable. So there might be other tools that build them. The direct interfaces with on-chain activity for plugins are luckily secure and
Yeah,
stable.
I'm looking through a lot of these right now. Like you have like a Vercel AI, LangChain, Lambda MCP, voice. Like you're going to be adding
Yeah.
game
So
agents, Eliza
this was
agents.
this was also the Go SDK was made by CrossMint actually. So we had our own framework that we built off Blormy. And right now sometimes we have some Go tooling, but we also built like a very robust and modular agent framework ourselves that configures the Blormy stack. So that's like an example of like a tool that we use. But now we
Yeah,
have our own more robust mechanism to get the
mechanism.
desired outcomes.
Exactly.
Blemmy's a bit
Exactly.
of a
That's because you
Frankenstein.
guys forked this. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. It's like you guys have like a ton of this, like different things coming together. You have Zero Pi,
Exactly.
Go, blah, 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 and probably a bunch of other things that are to be announced. Okay. So guardrails, like the spending caps, like do you guys have any sort of like hard limits on how you guys want to sort of use the human in the loop thing? Like when how do you roll back, I guess, to protect your users? Like if they end up signing something like with bad DeFi, I'm assuming it really comes down to what you guys add into the application. But like if something happens in DeFi, does that affect you guys? Like, how I guess how do you do the risk mitigation in a DeFi? Because like say, something happens and the AI sort of accidentally sends all of your money. I guess like are there certain AI sort of, I don't want this to ever happen. If you see me trying to send all of my money, bro, like please don't sign it.
Mm-hmm.
Like how do you tell, this?
Yeah, so that will be possible. I'll give a quick spiel on this app, and then you could handle the rest. So that's where like the parameters of like spend caps would be put into the logic, and then the user's admin wallet signs off this. So let's say a user signs off on $1,000 spend cap. If someone wants to send say they have $5,000 worth of funds, like they're only delegated signer is only authorized for 1,000. So it's the actual permissions being set from the admin wallet, which is the user's configuration. So that's kind of like the guardrails and systems to build that out.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say the same thing, but also there is a part of it, like the first piece is implicit, right? You're playing with a permissionless agent that is inherently going to be permissionless. So there is, well, as far as the accidentally signing a bad transaction, luckily that risk gets mitigated because you're not interacting at that level. With the thing about cross-mint smart wallets is you also don't have access to directly interact at that level. Any transaction you're passing through your Blormmy wallet, we are actually passing and relaying through the cross-mint API. So it's not like you can just get tricked and rugged by some fake front end, but
Yeah.
yes.
I guess that's the key though, is that you want to avoid prompt injection attacks, especially to an AI that has full control over users' keys, essentially. So my key question is like, are you guys verifying these quotes directly in confidential environments? You're obviously like looking for certain prompts that you want to sort of mitigate or avoid, or maybe you have a list of prompts that are approved prompts. Like, I guess in terms of what the user wants, do you sort of pre-craft, pre-select those prompts and you ensure that they're deterministic, hard-coded? Like, you can't do anything else outside of this deterministic sort of border that we've given you. That way you can at least secure them within this sort of enclave, right? Like, is that what you mean by determinism? Is that you're effectively giving them guardrails towards the application itself? Or you just like, hey, you could use this and it's also going to just be like, unhinged, or you maybe want both. You want the unhinged version and the controlled version.
Yeah. Well, luckily what you're describing about like a protocol level limitations is what Tint was getting at with session keys and there being like granular scope session permissions for the smart wallets, which are still in progress for our specific stack. But some of the things that we do is that requests can only come from authenticated users, and we do have key pair encryption on our requests. So when we have something coming in through the Blormmy API, we have a key pair that we check that we signed the user's incoming query, and we make sure that it came from an authenticated user from our authenticated interface, that it was signed by us. And inside the TEE, you verify. So yeah, every TEE can check that everything came in. And there is also JWT tokens.
Yes. Okay. So you guys are handling the full authentication. I think that's not necessarily unquestionable. Like, that's super secure. What's actually cool is that you guys are doing it with zero trust, though. So zero trust verification using agent-owned wallets through some sort of like cloud usage on Google. You're signing in with Google. So that's sort of like the JWT aspect, right? And then that's Crossmint giving you that automated sort of authentication infrastructure. And then now you have these sort of guardrails, I guess, like for the AI. When it comes to privacy, like the data that is actually running inside of is there a specific use case that you guys are thinking about when it comes to the wallet with confidential compute, like private transfers? Is that, yeah, okay.
Yeah, huge. That's the number one reason why we're on Fala, is because when you're using cloud computing providers, there's memory dumps. The root user, the root admins, they themselves could in one form or another take a look at what's living in your runtime. And that's the thing that that's the number one issue that Fala solved for us initially and continues to, is that nobody, even with the ephemeral key system where we're only loading in a user's delegate wallet key pair at the time of execution, we're never actually saving it. But at the time of execution, of course, you need to have the user's key loaded in because something has to sign. And luckily through Fala, we never have to worry about that key falling into the wrong hands.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So you're really relying on TEEs mainly for private key management, not just Fala, but you rely on TEEs in general to make sure that you can do corrective key management system for wallets. So I think that's really the point here, which is a good design choice. And I think that's kind of the thing, like, you know, for Blormy's use case, would you say that where TEEs are winning decisively is where would you add like zero knowledge proofs to this too? Is there plans for ZKPs or like, you know, zero knowledge virtual machines for any sort of need or necessity? Because this is also really popular, right? And like most of the AI culture is sort of not even thinking about rollups or the necessity for rollups. So how do you guys sort of take on the zero knowledge proof game?
So we can definitely kind of create like this macro narrative. It's kind of like the reverse of what VC projects are. VC projects kind of built like maybe they built an L1 that stuff is going to happen. This is how it's going to work. We built an app specific first, a very specialized agent. From what derives in the use cases of this agent, we can say, okay, now we can take a bigger look at maybe custom infrastructure or some special plays.
You know, you try to look up AI rollups and it doesn't even show up. So, but when I think of AI rollups, I'm thinking, yeah, like use a zero knowledge machine in TEE and prove the proof of agents of signature and aggregate in a TEE batch transfer validity proof across 16 to layer 1. And then that makes rollups make sense because then you're batching transactions for AI on the chain.
Exactly, right?
You're not just sending money, you're actually using an API and you're like having to create a proof. That's the zero knowledge proof. And then you commit it in with one transaction instead of spending a ton of money, CP services for the price of one optimism transfer. That would be insane. But could it happen? I don't know. We have to get away from APIs, right? We have to get away from the API hell in the industry, right? Or I don't know. Like it's what do you guys think about that? Like in terms of scaling the AI mind, you know, like blockchain really democratized this idea. You know, that's why it's being merged together. But I
Yeah,
think in terms of scalability, you said craftsmanship, and I'm thinking like, okay, like how do you craft though that this thing becomes usable by tens of millions of people on chain? And
exactly. So that's where, I mean, you're alluding to like the layer twos. Really what at first principle, what layers do is they create state changes in the blockchain and then they use the L1 for settlement and finality. So as we are seeing this agent orchestration and activity arise, it's like, oh, if we need a custom piece of the execution steps to be on chain or kind of make it more modular, yeah, then that's the idea of like, okay, we're building this L2 or whatever stack is being built out for a specific purpose that we've identified. And then the beautiful aspect of like ZK proofs is like we don't have to build the infrastructure of validators, consensus, all that stuff. Is like the sequencer posts the proof on the L1 and we're just generating action basically.
something quite complex or agentic, right, of the wallet. The wallet almost has a mind of its own. And why does it reason in this way? And I guess there's going to be a ton of different examples of this, Blormy being one of them. Like, what is I guess, the philosophy that you guys have behind what would you like to see happen from Blormy at the end of the day in like 3 to 5 years? Like, where does it actually, what makes sense right now the most for AI and blockchain sort of coming together? Because that's actually going to really help us understand, you know, what do we need to do next in those next steps. But what do you think?
Yeah, I think the etymology is actually it. So Blormy comes from the parent company of Blormy is called Blorm, and Blorm derives off the words blockchain and information. So for some context, I've been in the interop, I've been in DeFi, I've been in crypto blockchain for some time, and I got really obsessed with like the concept that a blockchain is just the consensus on state changes. So Blorm came to idea that we wanted to create products that create state changes in blockchains. Blormy is the flagship product to do that because we are using AI to abstract the user experience to do anything on chain. So the goal for Blormy would be that any action, any idea would be executed through AI through Blormy, and then it just gets settled on chain. So right now we're seeing like some of the simpler stuff of swaps, transfers, open perps, bridging, all that stuff. But who knows in the future where like anything that we can think of will be done by an agent like Blormy. And then Blormmy uses a settlement on chain. And then at first principle at the root that we're doing is state changes in the world. And since blockchains are information ledgers, the more changes of information that we're deriving, that we're the interface for, the bigger and better product that we're creating to the world. So it's like this linear process where state changes, actions, and Blormy is the flagship of it.
Wow. So I love your vision. I love that you are taking it one step at a time. You're not over cascading yourself. I really like that. Efren, is there anything else that you would like to say? Maybe you have any last 2 cents about what you guys are really building. Maybe what's your builder's philosophy around this?
The main philosophy, though, is just reducing the friction that it takes to make on-chain activity happen, and especially to onboard people into our space. I think a lot of what people think of when they think of crypto is not only outdated, but also intimidating. People see charts, candles. Now you don't have to look at candles, right? Yeah, just make
That's
it
a good way of
accessible
putting
and
it.
make it good.
Yeah. Maybe I don't want to look at candles. I want to look at bright lights. Okay. That's my agent-owned wallet. That's my wallet, no one else's wallet. It does what I want it to do. So that's at least my vision. That's my philosophy. If I can just tell it to be something and it's that thing and it never changes, I'd be happy. But thank you so much, guys. You guys are really badass. I really love your vision. I like how you're doing the steps of building and using TEEs is like super cool. And yeah, I think at the end of the day, I really think that you guys are going to have a lot of success. And I can't wait. Is there any sort of timeline or things coming out, next steps? What's going on in your guys' roadmap right now?
Yeah, next pushes are going to be making the product more sticky. So anyone can sign up right now, blormy.com. All you need is an email. Feel free to try it out. Give us some feedback. We got some referral mechanisms, just some of like the fun stuff to get product adoption, because we kind of did the hard work of making this possible. And huge shout out to you guys. Like Ed was saying, like this wouldn't be possible if the tooling and infrastructure wasn't there for us to build upon. So yeah, I think adoption, and this is where we built a product. If people like it, use it, then it's validating our theory. So
For
excited
real.
to see that.
All right, cool. Well, thank you for those last words. Both of you guys are awesome. Tint, Efren, thank you so much. And thank you to everybody watching this episode. This was a lot of fun. And thank you for teaching me about AI and the attachments of these things. These are kind of, this is the next gen, okay? Next gen wallet, let's go.
Let's go. So it
All
is.
right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, sir.
That was fascinating. It's exciting to see developers working on ways to make artificial intelligence agents more independent and self-governing. By automating decentralized finance, they're simplifying the experience of using Web3 technologies. This means wallets with built-in AI capabilities are gaining what feels like entirely new features, almost as if they're evolving on their own. Imagine a wallet and an AI system seamlessly working together as one. But the big question is, how do we ensure this is safe for users? The key starts with privacy. Confidential computing plays a crucial role here, and I'm determined to figure out how to make it work effectively. What exactly is safe artificial general intelligence? How does it function? And where can we find it? Join us on the Black Box podcast to uncover the answers.